Hi there, and welcome to Carnivore Team GB. And I'm just waiting for a few people to turn up. Otherwise, it's just going to be me. But of course, I can see backstage there is the wonderful Phil Escott. Hello, Phil.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. I think
Amelia's bottled out of getting the large snake out, so we've just got the little one.
Oh, lovely. Yes.
He's very cute.
How long have you been keeping snakes then?
I don't know, about 55 years, I think. There you go. Take him away. Thank you.
Wow.
Unless you're getting Bowie out. If you like. We've got to entertain them somehow tonight, haven't we? So.
Yeah, well, it might be a short one tonight, as it's just us two. I thought Jonathan may turn up. I know Lee isn't because he's meeting the Forkers or something, the in-laws, isn't he?
Meeting, I think so. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and obviously no Richard. And I was hoping that we would get the Carnival UK actually, which is Podrick, but he was down to the coast.
I didn't get much of a chance to chat to him. I was so all over the place all weekend. But yeah, he's cool, eh?
Yeah, he's very cool, and he's got a big following there, and he's always talking about eating meat and the best thing you can do for that. So I suppose I should do some housekeeping, which is if you want to post a question, please put a big Q in front of it so we can easily see it. And if you want to do a super chat, that would be appreciated. But it's funny, isn't it, Phil, that it's just us two? I don't think this has ever happened, has it?
It's all right. We've got another carnivore now. A real big guy.
Yes. Oh, wow. Wow.
He's lovely. He's got a Hitler moustache, but there we go.
Yes. Do you want to talk a little bit about Spain and what's happening? You've got some big do.
We do have a big do in Spain, but that's a good thing about having pets like this. They only eat every 3 weeks, so you don't need to get a house sitter. Yes, we've got the Spain conference coming up. It was such a magical event in 2019. And, the whole COVID thing shut everything down in 2020, and then we didn't bother. But yeah, it's coming up now. It is sold out. If you go to the bigfatchallenge.com, you'll see a little button at the top for booking. But it's theoretically sold out. But please, if anybody is interested, because you never know if people do cancel, they sometimes do. So, get on the waiting list, but you can also get day tickets and stay in a local hotel. There's plenty around, but get down there. It's fantastic. Real intimate event. And Anthony Chafee's going. Sophia Clements is going. So there'll be tons of info. Now, I have to admit, this is the first time I've said this, but I have to email everybody tonight, but Natasha can't make it. Bowie's going mad here. Can you rescue me? Yeah, so she'll be on Zoom, but we've got Sarah Pugh coming. And she's going to do all sorts of interesting things. And Ben speaking and Heather speaking. And yeah, it's going to be fun. And I'm speaking. So I'll get into the woo-woo and stuff. Don't you take him, Peter. He'll eat you. Go and get Amelia. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. It's lovely. Beautiful, beautiful venue. And yeah, there's definitely the bye Bowie. Oh, he's stuck around the chair. You can never tell where the other end of him is going to get to. You get these things out and there's total chaos.
How long is that in feet and inches then?
This one's about 7 foot long.
Wow.
But I did used to have one that was about 15 foot long, and it was a lot easier to handle than this one. It was very gentle. But Boa's incredibly muscular. And bye Bowie. He's off.
Did you know if you unraveled the DNA of a human being and laid it flat, sort of thing, you'd get to the moon and back? One human being. It's amazing, isn't it?
I know. It's astonishing.
Yeah, I had a nice story today about somebody I've been coaching, and 20 years they've been going to psychiatrists, 20 years of antidepressants, and in 2 weeks' time, it's their last ever visit and their last ever antidepressants. So it's amazing, isn't it?
Isn't that beautiful? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Brett Lloyd's stories are fantastic as well, aren't they?
Yes, they
Remember
are.
when he was on my podcast, and he was, I think about 6 times he was in tears, remembering how he used to be and what Carnivore did for him.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult, isn't it? Because people do not associate that. And so they go, no, it won't do anything. Well, maybe it'll do something physically, but it won't do anything for mental health. They don't take into account that gut-brain connection. Oh, seriously, yeah. Get on it. Anybody who's got any depression or anything, get on it. It's magical.
Should we do a couple of questions then? I think this
Yeah.
is my healthy supplies. If vitamin C and carbs both compete for the GLUT4 transporter, therefore, if carnivore, you don't need as much vitamin C, do you think this could also mean vitamin C could be more effective if you supplement?
It's really simple on this. I just don't think there's any need for it. So, you know, if you want to know about the GLUT4 transporter, let's hand over to Stephen because he knows all that stuff. I just know that I wouldn't bother because I don't need it and my teeth aren't falling out. I haven't got scurvy yet.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, possibly if you feel like you want to experiment, you don't need to. But if you think, for instance, you want to improve your skin or your connective tissue and you're worried about collagen, which I don't think you will be after a long term of doing this, but maybe in the early days, you could take a little bit of vitamin C, see if it improves your skin, see if it improves your collagen production. But I don't think it's essential either. So that's a good question though. I think
there's a load of cofactors as well, aren't there? If you just take vitamin C, who knows if you're supposed to do that? I mean, in nature, it comes with everything. It's like people who take fish oils, just eat the fish. So for me, I had some supplements today, and that was liver. And that was it. And I had that because I had the weekend, you know, I had a naughty weekend playing at a festival, living the rock and roll lifestyle. So I thought, you know, it's time for some liver. I didn't think about cracking out vitamin C or anything, but if you want to try it, then why not? But isn't the vitamin C, even the powders that are supposed to be reasonably pure, are they not sort of derived from corn and stuff anyway?
Well, I think yes. Well, yes. All supplement manufacturers have their own ways of doing it. Yes, you need to look at what's behind it. Cherry is a good source of vitamin C. I think if you want a nice clean one that comes from a food rather than something that's totally synthetic. So yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, with you on that. Who knows the cofactors in cherries? Natural stuff. Eat them in season. Very good.
Right. Once a week, man. Hi, Coach Stephen. Really liked your latest interview with Cam. Yes, I did interview Carnivore Cam, and I think it's a members only video at the moment on YouTube. But as always, that will be out in the next couple of days. I don't really understand this, but maybe it's a reference to something you've said, by the way, from Zinc316, to cream or not to cream?
That's disgraceful. I don't want to get into that. This is a PG channel. Come on, steady on.
Yeah. Do you think it's adding cream to coffee?
Possibly. In which case, no, but I wouldn't do the coffee either. But right. I don't. If it's to do with dairy products, then not for me. No, I don't get on well with them. So no. If it's anything else, I'll leave that up to Stephen. He's the stand-up comedian.
I don't want to do any of that. So, Gaz, Stephen, you said VO2 max determined one ceiling for the rate of fat burning. Well, actually, it's the metabolism of oxygen. I mean, and also how it gets into the tissues. But yes, that's basically it. Some think cardio is deleterious. Which type is least so? Goal is fat loss. I was not saying that you need to exercise for fat loss. I think you just need to reduce your levels of inflammation and eat this way. I honestly think just good levels of protein and fats is all you need to do. If you want to exercise, I think that's really great. And I would definitely recommend resistance training. If you want to do a bit of running, that's fine. I think that's pretty good. I notice you've followed it up with sprints. Yes, I think sprint intervals are very good. 10 seconds of flat out sprinting, then 50 seconds of rest, another 10 seconds of flat out sprinting, then 50 seconds of rest is really good. Repeat sort of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times if you can do that. I think that's a good way of doing some interval training. Right. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I think the thing that woke me up to that was a story I've told many times probably, which was, running my own gym and mountain biking all the time, writing for the mountain bike mags, taking photos up and down mountains. I'd also go out for a good hour every morning on the roads that I didn't particularly enjoy, just pounding away on the bike. And I couldn't get lean, counting calories, everything. And then, lying on the sofa, crippled with rheumatoid arthritis, got a set of abs, eating nothing but meat. And then the joints cleared up too. And I did no exercise because I couldn't do any exercise. And at that moment, I look back over all those years of all those winter morning rides that I didn't want to do, and they were fairly useless. So resistance training, absolutely. And eat a load of meat, eat and sleep. That's it.
Yeah. But it is goal driven, you see. If you want to be an endurance runner and want to do 10K or half marathons, then you train for that.
Yeah, if you want to do it and you enjoy it, do it. But don't think you have to.
No. I think we're going to have a short session tonight because it's very quiet in the room. And I see Jonathan is in here, but, in the chat. So I'm very confused by the messages that are coming up. So anyway, once a week, man, does Philsnake get a workout?
Yeah. Well, boas tend to destroy their vivariums. And so he's got a very heavy sort of half a chair in there that I built for him for a hide and a big branch. And he throws those around a lot and destroys the cage. If you're down here late at night, he makes a tremendous racket throwing things around. So, yeah, he trains on his own in there, definitely. Unless, of course, that's another euphemism. So if it is, yes, at 62, it does. No problems.
Right. Yes, Jonathan, sorry. Yes, I know that. What surprised me is someone seemed to think you were live somewhere else, but that was a bit, sorry, I wasn't very clear. So the chat, anyway, is got the wrong end of the stick. So it's just me and Phil at the moment. Maybe the Carnivore UK will pop on later. But we're going to do a quick one tonight. Right. Healthy, my healthy supplies. I do not have raw milk that often, but when I do, I crave it after a gym workout. Why do you think this could be? Maybe contains electrolytes. It's probably more to do with the casomorphins. So dairy is addictive because you have this morphine-like substance that makes you addicted. And it's one of those things where it's very moreish. It could be electrolytes. It's more probably because of the sweetness, I think, that many people are addicted to dairy because there's no sweetness really in the carnivore way of eating with all the meats and eggs and stuff like that. So maybe it's just that little sweet taste that, when you have a bit of raw milk, you think, yeah, I like this. I'm going to have a bit more.
Well, it is very addictive, isn't it? If I could eat dairy, I would eat probably nothing but blocks of Parmesan and brie all day because it's just so delicious. But I've got to come back to this idea of Zophia's. There's a little one on my channel where Ben and I were walking around the Peak District with her, and she mentioned that raw dairy could be worse than pasteurized dairy, and I thought that was interesting. And I have an open mind. And if you think that the lactase that's destroyed in the pasteurization process that stops you digesting the lactose can show up problems immediately. But then when you drink raw milk, no problems at all. But then down the line, the growth factors are also not damaged. So they're a little bit more potent, and that can cause unusual cell replication, which is probably why adult animals don't have any dairy past the age of weaning, because it can cause problems down the line. So if somebody gets cancer on a raw milk diet, like 20 years down the line, are they going to associate it with the raw milk diet? I don't know. It's just something to think about, really, but I just don't think it's necessary. If you're having that kind of craving after a gym workout, why don't you try electrolytes and see if that fixes it?
Yeah, absolutely. It is all trial and error. I think that's the thing. But I don't think dairy being addictive is that surprising. I don't think it's electrolytes. I personally, I think it's the sweet taste, or like I say, the queso morphines. But it could be electrolytes as well. Right, let's go to the next one, which is, well, actually, you're more of an expert than on this sort of question. Jojo, Coach Stephen, please can you tell me if you've ever heard of blood in the stool from carnivore? Well, I haven't from carnivore. I've had 2 tests positive. I've been carnivore for 4 months. So what do you think, Phil?
2 tests positive for what exactly? Oh, you mean for blood, just for blood in the stool, so it's not visible.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's from carnivore. I think because over the years, when I look back over the years, there are several times when I've had blood in the stool. I mean, sometimes like you look down the toilet and you go, oh my God, I filled it with blood. And I just ignored it and I never had anything checked because it was fresh blood. And so I assumed it's just hemorrhoids. And that was years ago. And it happened occasionally, like once a year or something. So they must have been bubbling away in there, so to speak. And then when I went keto, it got worse. And it was tremendous pain, agony, blood, everything. And that was a little tiny bit of veg plus meat. I remember that was awful. But then, I mean, I've seen it just heal up in people when they go carnivore without anything else. But I took horse chestnut capsules that I found out from a book called The Meat Fix by John something or other. Hilarious book, well worth reading. And apparently he took these things and his piles fell out of his arse. There was nothing so dramatic for me. They just went away and never came back. And I never have any problem with that. So I'd say, how long have you been carnivore? What happened before? Did you have that occasionally before? If there's not much and it just takes a test to show it up, basically there's nothing in the carnivore diet that would cause that. It's something, you know, if you're 4 months in, there's going to be a load of healing going on. That kind of thing isn't going to reverse immediately. So I wouldn't worry about it. There's nothing, there's nothing in a test to say there's blood in your stool that you should have you running back for fiber or broccoli or anything like that. So it will sort itself out unless it's something else. Nothing wrong with getting tests to find out what you're dealing with, but just be very wary of their procedures that they tell you to have after that and their dietary advice. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what their advice was, what their comments were, because normally when you have a test like that, you will get a doctor's comment and some sort of referral. But it could be, like you say, hemorrhoids. It could be things that were, you know, historic, like you could have had diverticulitis pouches, which, you know, have opened up because there's less inflammation. So it's opened up and revealed itself. You could be seeing gastrointestinal infections, which are sort of, again, detoxing out of your rear end. There is lots of things you could do, but I do think obviously you've got to keep an eye on it. Are you on some medications? Because some non-steroid or anti-inflammatory drugs are actually known to cause that. That is a side effect of that. Blood thinners can cause that. So, you know, it's really difficult to actually give you much advice. Only 4 months into carnivore, it's just very unlikely that carnivore has caused it. I've not come across it to answer the question, but obviously do be mindful of it, and you know, go back to the doctor or whoever did the test and say, you know, have you got any comments to add to that? Because you just want to know, basically, is it something to worry about? Now we've got
one thing just to lead on from that, because Andrew's in the chat, Andrew Scarborough. And he says something quite interesting here that might be relevant. I think this can happen if you have things like cayenne pepper or paprika added to your meat. I know others who had this and it stopped when they didn't add these kind of seasonings. Possibly something to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Here's thank you, Andrew, by the way. Once a week man. Thank you for the £5. I've heard some older men have testosterone replacement therapy. Don't know much about it. Could you discuss it?
Go on,
Phil. We're both old.
Well, I've never had a test, so I don't know. But all I can say is, and it's sometimes quite a good marker, is that there's a little video on my YouTube channel called "Does Carnivore Diet Give You Better Boners?" And in the 40s, it was on a largely plant-based diet. It was kind of slowing down. I never totally lost the ability, but it was slowing down a bit. But now at 62, no issues. So I think that, if you go onto your species-specific diet, these hormones tend to balance out, and you probably won't need to take that. And also, I'm very suspicious. I remember Jack Kruse once said, and I'm suspicious of this, that if you take anything as a supplement that the body produces naturally, then it can squash down the body's ability to create that, like, melatonin, testosterone, whatever it is you're taking that the body naturally produces. I would be very wary of taking something like that, because it might be short-term benefit for long-term problems. What do you reckon, Stephen?
Well, yeah, I mean, the biggest carnivore I know, the biggest named carnivore, who is a monster and breaks world records, has very low testosterone. So I think I agree, actually, that if you start supplementing, you could be tanking your own production. And
Sean also shows off quite regularly that he wakes up with a boner every morning.
Does he? Right, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's often mentioned it. Yeah.
All right. So I think firstly it should be symptom driven. If you are having low libido and you are feeling weak, tired, you could go and get a test to see if you've got low testosterone, but there could be other things that are causing that. That's the thing. I've not considered it at all. I mean, obviously, I have dealt with bodybuilders who supplement with testosterone, but that's for a completely different thing. And then you have to look at, estrogen blockers, because if you take a lot of testosterone, the body is pretty smart. Testosterone and estrogen sort of try to work in a sort of ratio. So anyway, are you getting the things that need you to have it? So reduced libido, fatigue, decreased muscle mass, mood changes, all of those sort of things. I'm not anti anything. If you've tried it, you're listening and it's a game changer for you and your life was fantastic, share a comment about your experience. It's not recommended for people with prostate cancer, obviously. If you've got sleep apnea, it can mess that up. If you've got a high red blood cell count, actually. So that's just my bit of phlebotomy coming in. If you've got a very high red blood cell count, it's not a good idea to take testosterone. So I think, generally speaking, as someone has put in the chat, they are on a testosterone replacement therapy, and it's called the carnivore diet. And I think that's a nice way of looking at it.
Yeah, also very sort of heavy training can increase that, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I went from keto to carnivore, it took me not that long. I can't remember it. I think it was 6 weeks to increase my testosterone naturally by 30%. And I was 55 at that point. So that shows the power of eating meat and continually training. Zink's asked another question. See, everyone's getting in with questions because, it's nice and quiet tonight. How do you know when you have become fat adapted?
When you have enough energy from what you're eating, and that can vary depending on individual sort of paths through that adaptation phase, but also how active you are. Like I think a lot of people can feel that they're fat adapted way before somebody like a long distance runner or something, where it might take a year or more to be fat adapted to that level. But just when you've no longer got any cramps and palpitations and low energy and that kind of thing, what other markers would you think, Stephen? Just when it's all going right and you're happy with it?
Yeah, I think that when it's really difficult, one of the ways you can do it is a bit of a hack, is to have a blood test and look at your VLDL, and that tends to show if it's low that you're pretty much fat adapted. That's just a correlation, but it is incredible coincidental correlation that happens time and time again. If you're fat adapted, you do know it. I think you have more energy. I think you are less fatigued. I think you see it in your body composition. It's just general feeling of well-being, I think, is just stronger. So yes. Right. There's a follow-up from Jojo about this stool appearance. Yes. I thought maybe from lots of iron from the meat. Well, the heme iron from the meat is absorbed, and what actually happens is we could get into real weeds here, and I don't really want to because that's not my bag, but let's do it because nobody else is here to do it. When we look at iron consumption, most people just go, it's from your diet, but of course it isn't actually just from your diet. When red blood cells are broken down by the spleen, it breaks down the hemoglobin. There's a clue there. So you get heme and globin. So what happens is you get some recycling of iron. There's also this rubbish about we can't excrete iron, but actually that's not true, because when the enterocytes of the gut, they die off, I think it's once every 4 days, basically. They will take some iron with them, and that will come out in your fecal matter. So yes, that is a possibility, but it's not because it's a problem. It's because that's one of the ways of getting rid of some of the iron, which is just the body doing some housekeeping, really. Normally, though, you wouldn't have sort of visible blood. You do get some visible red blood sometimes, but it's normally you have a sort of just a darker stool in general. It is a possibility, though. I would definitely wouldn't rule it out, but if that is the case, then that's just a normal physiological process. Right. Now we need Richard, really. Muscle stiffness after sitting. Tried magnesium biglycinate in powder form. Gave me the runs. Yes, well, that's that's magnesium for you. Magnesium shit rate is what I always call it. Any other suggestions, please? I have a phobia of swallowing pills. Phil?
I don't know. I mean, sitting for how long? I mean, there is a certain amount of stiffness as you get up before you start walking. If you're a certain age, when I see my son jumping up from any old position and just start leaping around and running, I feel very jealous. But it's difficult for me to figure out whether it's sort of after effects from rheumatoid arthritis or whether it's just generally what people seem to get after this kind of age. But I don't really think about it, but I suppose thinking about it, I do a bit. It depends how long it goes on for, and how long you've been carnivore, what you were doing before, what's going. I don't know. I'd have so many more questions after that, I guess. But I don't think you need to swallow any pills about it, so don't have a phobia about that. Find a way around it, but more questions, I'd say, than answers. There, Stephen. What would you think?
Well, first thing I'd rule out is I would get rid of coffee. That would be one thing, because that's up until age 59, I didn't believe that acrylamides could be a problem. That's a compound that happens from the roasting of coffee. And just coincidentally, Richard Smith, who is the Keto Pro, who I do the live with on Sundays, completely independently, we decided to get rid of coffee for joint pains and other things. Mine was because I took my eye off the ball, literally. I was doing 1 week of soccer for the Americans, or 1 week of football, the proper name. And once a week I was playing five-a-side, and then I added 2 sessions of training. And I just thought this extra training was giving me the knee pain. And my football boots seemed to be a bit too small all of a sudden. And then I took coffee out of my diet, thinking, well, I'll just see if Anthony Chaffee does know his stuff, and can it really cause joint pain? And boy, he was correct. Took the coffee out, did a proper interventional study, and N equals 1, I do know. So I took the coffee out, my football boots were fitting, and I didn't have any joint pain. Put the coffee back in, back came the pain. Had a washout period, took it out. No problem. Then I had a stupid weekend where I thought, oh, well, I fancy a coffee. I did a typical thing here. So all you carnivores that worry about going off the track or not sticking exactly to your plan. I did exactly that. I thought, oh, I'll be all right. What, a couple of coffees are not going to hurt. And of course, Tuesday when I went back to train, wow, I really regretted it. So once you've got that accumulation of acrylamide, I think taking coffee out would be a really good or interesting thing to do. I'm also now experimenting with something else, which is the fermented cod liver oil. Well, years ago, when I was high carb and I had joint pains, which might have been because I was excessively training. I did do bodybuilding, and I did a one and done bodybuilding show. And I took cod liver oil, and I found great relief from that. But of course, now I've met Richard, I'm worried about oxidized cod liver oil or fish oils. So I'm trying a fermented cod liver oil from the Real Food Company. And in about 6 weeks, we'll see how that's done, because I'm having a few labs done and all that sort of stuff. All things you don't need to do. I only do it as a YouTube content creator and people are interested. All of us that are talking about carnivore, in the end, it's really simple. But we all do the biohacks because it's very interesting for the people that are watching. So let's go to the next one. Carno Dane, so that's somebody in Denmark, I think. My biggest question in life at the moment is whether to take a lump sum when it's pension age. As the carnivore diet extends life, if I take a lump sum, my monthly payments are reduced. Well, there is a different way to look at this, because if you don't tell them you're carnivore, they will work out your annuity on the assumption that you're going to die at age 74 or something. And if you live to 100, then you've outdone the insurance company, haven't you? You've outdone the underwriters and the risk assessors. So there is that way of looking at it. We can't give financial advice. We're not doctors and stuff like that. But I would definitely say look at all your options, because don't forget it's taxed income, whereas you could look at other things. I'm not going to get into this, but I could give you really good advice about this. But definitely look into your options.
Yeah, I'll do a quick one on this because I can't resist. I would take some, because get it into gold, silver, bit of Bitcoin or something. Get out of the fiat money system, because you never know when a monthly payment is going to disappear. I don't trust any of these guys, and I think there's so much insecurity in the whole financial system. So, go and take a lump sum and put it into some land, put it in some cattle, dig a well, build a house. Depends how much you're going to get. I wish I was going to get a pension. I'd retired at about 16, so I'm not going to get any pension at all. But yeah, if I had a lump sum coming, I would definitely take it. I wouldn't, I use my own sort of ingenuity to grow it, rather than trust the government to pay me every month. There might not be a government at some point, so yeah, don't trust it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I would take as much of a lump sum as I can and do something with it. Right. So let's have a look. Right. This is an interesting one. We're looking at Mojo Curio. Any suggestions for treating CIRS in the UK, please? A shoemaker protocol, not an option. Thank you. For those that don't know, we're looking at chronic inflammatory response syndrome, in case you don't know what it is. Water damaged buildings, Lyme disease, mold, those sort of things. So biotoxins in the atmosphere environment is causing inflammatory responses. So Phil, what do you reckon? This is right up your street, isn't it?
Not massively. Just my questions around stuff like this is, it's like Lyme disease and ticks, and getting bitten by ticks and getting Lyme disease supposedly. How many millennia have we been bitten by ticks and nothing particularly has happened? I still think about it. I've been to a couple of festivals recently down south to play drums at these freedom festivals with this band I'm in, the Daz band, and I came back with, I think, 6 ticks the first time, and I had to sort of winkle them out. This time I actually can't find any, although there were some about. Maybe there's one hidden somewhere in some crevice, I don't know. But I don't really worry about them anymore, because I don't have the paranoia. I remember if I'd get bitten by a tick when I was out night fishing or something, I go, oh my God, and checking for that bullseye rash and whatever. And I just think that if you're as strong as you can be, the body just throws that kind of thing off. And I think similar with mold. Now, I do understand that there are serious issues with mold for some people. And if you've got a load of black mold around your house, you know, you need to get it treated properly, or just move out and run away if you're having issues, because it's often very difficult to get, you know, rid of the whole lot. Because what you can see is probably only about a tenth of what's there in between the walls and the floor and the ceiling and stuff like that. So, but I think, you know, ancestrally, we'd have come across a lot of mold. If you leave something out, you know, I leave something in my garage, the mold's there. If you look at stuff out in nature, you know, there's a lot of molds around. We'd have been subjected to these spores, and we didn't have any issues because the body throws them off. I think it's a matter of looking at everything else and sorting that out. Now, I've heard of the Shoemaker Protocol. I've heard of people talking about it in relation to CIRS, but I'm not sure of the specifics of it. So I can't say what I would think would be useful parts of it or not. And because I've never done it, I've just sort of thought, right, let's get as healthy as I can, so that those bits of black, I can see a bit of black mold from here on my window pane, not window pane, the window frame. And there's bits of it around. And I was paranoid about it for a while, and then I just don't anymore. I just think, well, what can I do? There's not much I can do about it right now. So, you know, to get the whole house treated would cost a fortune. Does it really work? Do they put chemicals in there that's worse than the black mold? I don't know what goes on. So just to stay as strong as possible, stay outside a lot, get grounded, get the light in your eyes, eat a carnivore diet, you'll probably be fine and it won't affect you, because not everybody who lives in a house with a mold issue gets ill, right? Just certain people do. So I think it's worth looking at why they get ill and you don't. That's not to say that you should stay in something that's completely infested. And maybe the Shoemaker Protocol might speed it up, but I'm sorry, I don't know the details of the Shoemaker Protocol. Do you, Stephen?
Yeah, a little bit, not much. Yeah, there's a visual sensitivity test that they do, which is sort of does reveal sensitivity to biotoxins. That's the first thing, and then they do the HLA-DR genetic testing to see if you are, as you've just said, you see, in layman's terms, are you susceptible to mold? So it is pretty good. There's biomarker testing as well. But then the protocol sort of merges with just common advice, which is, you know, to remove yourself from the exposure, which seems obvious, but some people, you know, it's difficult to do that. But like you just said, get rid of black mold, identify what it is. We had a water damage ceiling. I mean, everybody, I think, who's been following me knows that we moved house, and then the roof decided that didn't want to act as a roof anymore. It wanted to be a shower. So we had loads of water damage, lots and lots of money. Now, I would say, you know, that's a period of high stress as well. So if you are in a property like that, you know, it could also be that there are other stresses. If you're in a property with mold and water damage and that, maybe your money's a bit tight as well. So there's possible things. You can look at binders as well. So activated charcoal. Wish Jonathan was here because he'd know all this sort of stuff. I'm not very good with this, but you can bind to the biotoxins like a chelator, you know, to get rid of oxalate. Same sort of principle. But the biggest thing is to reduce the possibility of inflammation. Well, this diet is the most anti-inflammatory diet out there, and also support the detoxification process, which again, this diet does in spades, because this is partly why we have some problems, because people liberate their fat, and of course their fat is where there's toxins stored. So all of these things could be initially exacerbated by the fact you're doing carnivore, because you're doing all these great things by liberating the fat, getting the inflammation down, and becoming more susceptible initially, and then actually seeing it really improve. Right. So that's,
or you could just set fire to your house, claim on the insurance, and get it all sorted. It's another idea.
Yes. Phil, you're an idiot sometimes. But anyway, let's have a look at this. Another nice super chat from Ribeye Rob, and I will answer this because I've been talking about it. Lots of carnivore streamers. Am I a carnivore streamer? Talk about coffee and its effects. and that would be preferable not to drink. Yes, as we just mentioned. Does all the negative coffee talk apply equally to tea? Richard didn't like me saying this, I think, last night, because I've replaced coffee with tea, which does bring with it other things like tannins. I totally get, but it's not roasted. Green tea in particular, the reason it has those great sort of plaudits is because it's steeped and it's steamed, so you don't get the acrylamides, but you do get all the other problems with tea. So full disclosure, there is a black tea in my Lauren and Hardy mug, by the way, and it's less toxic than coffee. Now, I should drink just water, and this is where I'm a real world person. I like hot drink, and I miss the coffee, but I don't miss the pains, so I replaced it with tea, and I had a big problem with that because I was having tea with milk. And if anyone has followed my experiment in 2018, milk is a big no-no for me. Liquid milk, white milk, that inoffensive little thing that you add to your tea has put so much weight on me, you would not believe. You would not believe it. So I've lost all my pains, but because I'm an idiot, and I realised I'm an idiot, yes, 6 cups of tea a day has a lot of milk, and that puts weight on. So
no, seriously, Stephen.
That is serious.
Now,
that is serious.
No, you said to me at the weekend, which was quite aggressive and whatever, and you're going, oh well, you had arthritis and now you've cured it. No. And you see, Stephen is jealous that I've had arthritis. He's also jealous that I've had kidney stones, and so now he's piling in the oxalates from tea just so that he can say how he cured the kidney stones. No, I'm messing. I've just never liked it, but that's the reason I would be suspicious of it if I did like it. And I think there is some. I did hear of a study somewhere. I hate quoting studies, but it makes sense to me that people who drink a hell of a lot of tea quite often get kidney stones. So there is that danger as well. There's the oxalate factor in tea. Just different issues, I'd say. Different issues.
Yes. Now, carnivore muscle, sorry, it's a bit late putting this up. Stomach ulcers from spices or medications is a quite likely cause. Great contribution, as always, from Andrew. Andrew is brilliant, isn't he? He is always really, really good.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next question. I will think I'm okay here. Have you seen one that appealed to you?
I'm on the other one, I think.
Okay, no, don't worry. Is it normal to experience muscle soreness after working out? I lift weights 3 days a week. Does that mean I'm not working out hard enough? Sorry if this is a silly question. Well, it's not a silly question.
Is it normal to not experience, right, muscle soreness? Yeah. Do you want to go first, or should I?
No, I'll let you go first.
You're very generous this evening, Stephen.
Well, I'd like to hear from you. Not only that, I can look up what question needs to be answered next.
I see what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, I think there are two things here. Either you're not taking it to failure, so you won't experience the soreness, or it's not the first couple of weeks that you're working out when you get the worst soreness. I used to get a lot of soreness in the first couple of weeks, and then after that it would die down. Or you're eating beautifully and not having any coffee or anything like that, and then you're not getting any muscle soreness anyway. It's like Anthony says, he doesn't get any soreness whatsoever after working out, and then a friend of his who was working out with him suddenly started to get sore, and he'd reintroduce coffee. So there are a few things here. It could be that you're not working out hard enough. You say you're lifting weights 3 days a week. If you're training the same muscle group 3 days a week, if you're doing a split, then fair enough. But if you're training the same muscle group 3 days a week, if you can even think of going back in the gym, 2 days after doing a set of heavy squats or bench press and do the same, then I'd say definitely you're not working out hard enough. So it's not a silly question, but I'd like to see whether you're training each muscle group once a week or not, or if you're doing like a full body workout 3 days a week. So there we go. That's me for the moment. What do you think?
Yeah, I think not aching after working out. I love all the answers that you just said there. For me, I mean, I work out with the X3 band, and I did the gym for a bit, but when I went back to the X3 band, I realised that I didn't have any muscle soreness. So I think there's too many variables to be categoric. But yes, I like the way Phil has said, maybe you're not working out hard enough or working out to failure. But it also could be that you are eating beautifully and your joints can cope. So it's very difficult. I think it's one of those things that you probably need one-to-one coaching if you can.
I would say so.
Yeah. So maybe you have previously commented on this, but what is your opinion on the much publicized Cambridge study results that 2 slices of ham daily raise the risk of diabetes type 2? All right, I won't be generous. I'll answer this one first, Phil, if you like. Well, firstly, diabetes type 2 is the inability to tolerate carbohydrates. Now, the last time I looked, there's not a ton of carbohydrates in the carnivore diet. So first thing, it doesn't even pass the common sense test. There's no mechanism where protein and fats can cause you to have problems with carbohydrate metabolism and therefore put your blood glucose up and your blood glucose in your bloodstream to be so high that you've got problems. And then you've got all those other things that are awful. But yes, there is plenty of comments. Firstly, in the study, the food frequency questionnaires leave a lot to be desired, a lot. Meat, what do they define as meat? Well, yes, they actually define sandwiches as meat, burgers as meat, pizza as meat. So, basically they are blaming the bun, blaming the butter for what the bun did. I can't remember the actual phrase.
Burger.
Burger, that's it. That's the word. The researchers absolutely categorically cannot and did not put a mechanism how it happens. How actually do you get type 2 diabetes by eating meat? They can't do it. So there's no plausible mechanism put into this thing at all. So it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And then you get into the normal things like healthy user bias. So if you're somebody that eats pizza, sandwiches, and burgers with the bun, you might also be someone that drinks and smokes. I'm not saying that, I don't like to tar everyone with that brush, but it is likely there is a huge possibility that you are not particularly into healthy pursuits. Whereas someone that is saying, I have pasture raised chicken and eggs from the pasture and I have grass-fed beef, it's very unlikely that they're also going to say, and I have 30 packs of cigarettes a day and I also down 4 pints a night. It doesn't make any sense at all. You also then have to get into, and this is a real common thing that does absolutely annoy me, is relative risk. And so when you look at like pharmaceutical studies, I always think this is a real giveaway. So for instance, just going off the subject, but coming back to it very quickly, if you look at the statins, they talk about the relative risk of statins, the benefits, but when they look at the side effects, they use the absolute risk, and it's just manipulation of figures. And if you don't really understand that, the relative risk, you got 100 people and 2 people have a problem on a statin, and 3 people have a problem without the statin. The difference between 2 and 3 is 1, isn't it? So it's like a 30% reduction with a statin, or 50% if you look at it in a different way as well. So yeah, apart from that, it's a great study. The food frequency is just ridiculous. Right, let's get on to the next question.
Quick thing here, Ribeye Robert said it's the bread around the ham that did it. Exactly what I was going to say is, I mean, 2 slices of ham, who's going to be satisfied with that? They're eating something else, right? I think the problem is they're not eating enough ham. Like if they had 80 slices of ham or whatever, they wouldn't need the bread around it and they wouldn't get diabetes. So exactly, it's not enough ham. it's proving. But then again, ham's a bit shit anyway, so you should have, you know, you should have a couple of ribeyes. But you're definitely not going to get diabetes from eating ham. You might get a few other things, but you won't get diabetes from it. That's for sure.
You need to be careful with your humor, because we're going to get questions now. So what can you get from ham? Right. Oh, Andrew, look at that. It's nice to have backup. I eat cod liver and I notice a benefit from that, which is really good. Right. Let's look for the next question. I thought you were going to answer it a little bit more. So,
hey, no, you've covered it. Well,
oh, here we go. Here we go. You can answer this one while I get some more lined up. So Val was asking, what is the reason why one is always hungry?
I'm not eating any food.
Yes. Not eating enough.
Yeah, just keep on eating. Go, no problem. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hardly ever hungry, even when I probably need food. I just don't really get hungry anymore. Very rarely. But actually, I did when I came back from this festival, because there's something when I go to festivals that I don't really want to eat. So I hardly eat there, and I do loads of stuff and play gigs, and I'm never hungry. And then when I come back, I'm really hungry. So I eat, and that's it. And I don't know why. The reason you're always hungry and what? There's a fly buzzing around. It's really annoying me. It's a really tickly, persistent one as well. So yeah, I just think, you know, just keep on eating, or maybe, you know, if you are eating to your satisfaction and you're still hungry, then are you eating enough fat?
Yeah, I mean, it could be how you're splitting your food up. Yes, it could be that you need more fat, you need more protein. If you buy into the sort of protein leverage theory, where you keep eating until you've got enough protein, could be that. You see, this is it. It could be leptin resistance. You could be not feeling satiated because you're not getting the signals. And it does depend when you say you're not hungry. Well, are you getting the signals right for your hunger signals? Is ghrelin working? So it's more than one way to look at this. But I think normally it's all about eating enough, the appropriate amount, eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. That's it. Right. So let's go to the next question. With summer coming to an end, what do you suggest regarding vitamin D? I don't want to take supplements. Right. Okay. Well, you might not need to, because don't forget, you will be charging up your body with a fat soluble vitamin called vitamin D all over the summer. And we didn't used to supplement with vitamin D. If you look ancestrally, in the old days, we would just get by without a supplement. So maybe the lower levels of vitamin D are just what would happen. Now, I might make you feel a lot better now, because when I got to March of this year, obviously been through the winter, I didn't supplement. We'd had a terrible winter. I know basically we're living in a world that's global boiling. So all that cold weather and the rain and the sleet and the grey skies are obviously a figment of my imagination. But I didn't have high levels of vitamin D in March, because I live in the UK and we had a winter. We had a proper winter, which was cold. It was horrible, and I didn't go out much, and I had low levels of vitamin D, but I felt great. So then we had a summer of sorts. And I know the Met Office said it's the hottest May, which it wasn't, but, you know, we still had some sunlight, and the hottest ever June, which of course it wasn't, but there you go. We still had sunlight. I got out in the sun, and I did everything that Jack Cruz, for instance, told me to do, and got out early and went out late and exposed as much skin as possible without getting arrested. And it was just amazing. And then I had my vitamin D tested about 2 weeks ago, and it was actually lower than in March. Right. So should I worry? No, I feel great. I feel really good. But I am experimenting with this fermented cod liver oil and butter, the Western A Price thing from the Real Food Company. And I'm going to see if I can feel even better. This is the thing, right? You don't know how good you can feel until you push yourself. See, so I'm pretty happy. 10 years, never been to the doctor, don't take any meds, nothing wrong with me. Sounds pretty good. But maybe if I had super high levels of vitamin D, maybe I'd feel even better. And the only way to prove that is to take a supplement and see if that actually works, which I will do. And in 6 weeks' time, I'm doing a retest on my vitamin D, because I would have done 2.5 months of the cod liver oil, the fermented cod liver oil, and I'm going to see what my levels are and whether I feel super duper. And then after that, I'm going to do D3 and K2 as a supplement, like a pill supplement from British Supplements, and I'm going to do that and see what happens there. And I don't think I need to do any of that. I just think I need to live and be a carnivore and move and enjoy my exercise, drink as little as possible that's bad for me. So drink mainly water and just enjoy my life. But anyway, that's my very long answer. Do you feel weak? Once a week, man. You know, you said once a week, man. That's in your name. So obviously I'm feeling like you're not weak anymore. I wouldn't worry too much about it. But anyway, right, here we go.
I'd say if you want to mess about with vitamin D lamps and stuff, then there's no problem in the winter. They can't do any harm as long as you use them in the middle of the day or the morning, and don't do them at night, even though they're red. It's a bit bright, so don't do it at night and mess about. And that actually ties in, I'm going to have to say, with Andrew's comment here. Too much artificial light and poor sleep can make you feel hungry, disrupting normal hunger and satiety signals. For the question about feeling hungry all the time, so that is also another thing to take into account. So yeah, mess about with some vitamin D lamps if you want, if they're good ones, and see what happens. I'm going to this winter just because I quite enjoy them, and a friend of mine is generously sending me hers because she's moving abroad and doesn't need it anymore. So we'll see what happens. But I don't really like swallowing anything that I don't need to swallow, because having been autoimmune, I don't want to mess about with my gut microbiome and you know, gut integrity. So I don't really like supplements. So there we go.
Yeah, I think Lambs is saying, I thought vitamin D is only produced around noon, not at dawn or dusk. No, as soon as sunlight, UVB hits your skin, it interacts with 7 dehydrocholesterol, which is in your skin, and the UVB breaks the B ring, and it uses both thermosensitive and isomerization, which is the posh words of basically heat and light and the change in structure, and it starts its merry way to make vitamin D3 on its way to the liver. And I think the reason dawn or dusk is particularly good, and Richard always talks about this, is because the UVB is coming in at an angle, it's going through the atmosphere in a different angle, it can actually make your nitric oxide production increase. So it could even be that it's the nitric oxide which is improving your health, because that's a vasodilator and lowers your blood pressure and does loads of wonderful things. So yeah, early morning, late evening sunlight is actually pretty good. Of course, you will get more bang for your buck if you go out at noon, because you can go in the sun and you can charge yourself up really quickly. But just for those that are worried about vitamin D toxicity and taking things like 10,000 IUs, international units, at 62 degrees north, which is Finland, and they've studied this, people sunbathing for 30 minutes have made the equivalent of 10,000 to 20,000 IUs of vitamin D in just 30 minutes of sunbathing at that very northerly latitude where it's not particularly sunny. So yeah, that's it really. So yeah, looking at the time, we finished. Phil, we've done well. We made it. We got to the end. Sorry we didn't get to every question, but we've done it. We've survived with just 2 of us, and Jonathan sitting in the wings, making sure we don't misbehave. So thanks for your time, mate.
It's always a pleasure. Nothing better to do on a Tuesday evening than sit and chat with you guys, or you bloke.
Yeah, me. Yes. Just to remind everyone, don't forget that there is a Carnival conference coming up. They've got some great guest speakers and me, and it's the 14th and 15th of September. Anyway, I think it's that weekend in the middle of September, and it's at Cliff College. Are you speaking there, Phil?
Yes, I shall think of something. I was thinking this morning, what on earth am I going to talk about? But I'll figure something out. I think Ben wants me to talk on autoimmunity and stuff.
Yeah, well, you're the man, aren't you? Ribeye Rob is saying 4,000 IUs a day with K2 MK7. Yeah, and you can even get into the weeds with MK7. Is it cis or tran? Yes, I know that's other related to other things in the news, but yes, you can look at the different types of MK7, MK4. You can look at 10,000 IUs. You could also look at cofactors like magnesium, because the vitamin D receptor does burn up a lot of magnesium. People that have problems with vitamin D toxicity, alleged it's normally actually a magnesium deficiency. The symptoms are pretty much the same. So there's more to this: boron, zinc, and everything else. If you want to know a lot about that, I am putting a video up about vitamin D, so you might be interested in that. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next Tuesday, which is not me being rude, by the way.